Hi, my name is Charlie Hugh-Jones, and this is Unlocking the Best Version of You, the podcast for high-performing individuals and entrepreneurs who want to be more productive, feel more purposeful, enjoy more resilience and vitality, and increase the depth and richness of their connection with others. I'm so glad you're here. And once again, it's time to unlock the best version of you. Happy holidays, folks. There's nothing quite like the festive season to bring out the crazy in our dysfunctional families. And maybe you've worked through the impact of some of their issues with a therapist, a good therapist, an effective therapist, an expensive therapist. And yet somehow, just 15 minutes into the annual family get-together, you find yourself asking these existential questions. How can I be related to these people? I mean, how will I make it through the next few hours, let alone the next few days, without causing someone grievous bodily harm? And you might ask yourself this question as well. How am I going to escape with my sanity, patience, or indeed my marriage or relationship intact? Well, no matter how effective it's been with colleagues, your assertiveness training goes out the window the minute your uncle begins his annual political rant. Not again. And no matter how much work you've done to deal with it, a mere look from your mother can trigger an attack of codependency so severe you end up paying for her next holiday. And no matter how much resolve you had before you arrived, that extra glass of wine is just too tempting to turn down, steadily eroding anything that's left of your self-control. Well, these happy occasions often leave us feeling exhausted, demoralized, anxious, or plotting how we might inflict retribution. And for many, the journey home from these family events is spent wondering how it happened. Again. Now, Albert Einstein once said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. And what? Expecting different results. And this leaves me wondering, how did Einstein get along with his family? You know, we expect so much of our families this time of year, but we don't do very much to prepare ourselves for the inevitable onslaught of these temper-fraying, sanity-sucking gatherings. You see, family get-togethers require survival strategies, and I want to give you 3 practical, fun, and powerful ones that might just help this holiday season. So for the next few minutes, I want to talk through 3 strategies that are going to help you. And under each one of those strategies, I'm going to give you a couple of tools that I found useful, that I found practical, that I found fun, but will make a difference. So you ready for the first one? The first strategy. Strategy number 1. Abandon hope. Yeah. I did say abandon hope. But no, I don't mean give in to despair or allow your inner critic to go wild or for you to retreat into some alcohol-fueled catatonic state. No, I mean stop hoping that your family will somehow be better this year. And accept them how they are. You see, most of us either go home for the holidays or invite family to our place hoping maybe this year they'll be different. Or maybe this year they'll listen to me, they'll see reason, they'll stop criticizing, they'll have reformed their character. Insert your own holiday wish here. Santa doesn't deliver these kind of wishes, I'm afraid. Often we don't consciously realize it, but we hope. We hope against hope our families will magically be transformed into normal, in inverted commas, human beings, to cease and desist from all their usual behaviours, the ones that affect us like fingernails on a chalkboard. That's me doing the sound of fingernails on a chalkboard. Sorry, folks. Not good for radio or podcasting. I'm sorry. I mean, it's not like we're asking much either, is it? Just socially acceptable behaviour. Some recognition that they might have hurt or offended us in the past. Oh, and perhaps an apology. Or at least they could demonstrate some contriteness for the more damaging incidents in our past. The hope that our families will act perfectly, or even reasonably well, or maybe even just a little bit better than last year, sets us up. And what does it set us up for? To be stressed by the dysfunctions we'll almost certainly encounter. Blood pressure and tempers rising. I'm sure that's not what you want. Certainly not what I want. So the answer is to stop hoping that your family will somehow be better this year. I'm here to tell you, they won't. Or at least it's highly unlikely that they will be. Don't go in hoping that they will have changed. People rarely do. And if they are better this year, if they have done the work to grow, to change, then be pleasantly surprised and be grateful. I know it's all very well me saying to simply stop hoping. Abandon hope, I said right at the beginning of this section. So what can you do to prepare yourself mentally and emotionally not to react to the crazy, the dysfunction, the discomfort you experienced last time you were all together for an extended period? Well, here's the first thing you can do. You can give them permission to be who they are. The same family you had last year. Choose. It's a decision, folks. Choose ahead of time to accept them as they are. Craziness and all. So before you meet the family this season, take a few moments to sit quietly and acknowledge what you wish they were like. I mean, be honest with yourself about what that feels like for you. Could it be disappointment? Could it be sadness? Loss? About who they're not and who you wish them to be? Maybe write it down to capture the full breadth of how you feel, using specific words to do this. Then, prepare to accept them even if they behave as they have always done in the past. At best, you may be surprised that they are actually in the process of changing, and that some of your wishes have come true. At worst, you'll feel perhaps regrettably detached from your family as you watch them play out their usual psychoses. So that's the first thing you do. You give them permission to be who they are. Now, here's the second thing. Give yourself a reason to appreciate them. I'll say it again. Give yourself a reason to appreciate them. Now, some of your family members may have wound you up last year. Every year, damn it, maybe even last week. But they still have characteristics and qualities that can be appreciated. Characteristics and qualities that you can value and respect. Maybe Uncle Peter, who always comments on your weight, is actually a great Little League or soccer coach. Maybe Aunt Beryl, who has political views that stretch way beyond reasonable, actually serves in a local homelessness shelter. And maybe your brother, who teases you incessantly about your out there spiritual practices, is actually a great dad to your nephew or niece. A great way to combat the tension and potential to react that seems inevitable, it's going to happen no matter what, is simply to celebrate the good. Even if someone is really irritating, there is always something to like or celebrate about them. You just have to do the work to find it and focus upon it. So, before the next family gathering, make a list of each family member and the one thing that you can appreciate about them. And one of the tricks is to review the list as often as you need. And maybe even one day, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it at this time of year, one day you might even find the right time to share it with them. But not the first time you use this tool to help manage yourself. So that's the second thing you can do to help abandon hope. The third thing, you ready for this? Is to give yourself space. Give yourself space, even in the crowd. It doesn't matter how small the house is, how many people at the gathering, you can do this. As I've said, it's likely that your family will probably go on being their same old selves. You need to be clear on your boundaries with them. And I know that's hard. And you need to decide and be clear on those boundaries ahead of time, and then follow through and act on them when you're all together. You need to decide how much contact with particular family members you really want. Are there some you can handle in group settings, but not one-on-one? How much time is too much time? Where could you go, even for a short time, to take a break? Which room, car, treehouse can serve as a safe, quiet space for you to regroup and rebuild your reserves of tolerance? Think about it ahead of time. It's crucial to answer these questions before, not during, a family gathering. And here's another thought. Would you be more confident about getting together with your family if you plan to leave after no more than 3 hours? Or 2? 1, maybe? Would you breathe more easily if you rented a car so that you could get away without relying on a family member for transport, or you pre-booked the Lyft or Uber or taxi? Would it help to have a friend call you at a specific point in the evening, providing a convenient excuse for a graceful exit? Now, you've seen it in the movies. I'm telling you how to put it into practice in your world. So, the first strategy for keeping your sanity in this holiday season with your family is to abandon hope and use each of the 3 suggestions I've given you to plan ahead of time. So I hope that was helpful. Are you ready for strategy 2? Because strategy 2 is this: lose control. Strategy 2, lose control. Now, I'm not suggesting that you join your middle-aged uncle on the dance floor and join in the inappropriate physical contortions he wants to convince you will pass for dancing. What I'm actually talking about is avoiding the temptation to try and control your family members. Imagine the moment. You're about to tuck into your favourite pie and reach for your second glass of eggnog when your mother leans over and whispers these words. Have you tried Weight Watchers, honey? These words cut straight to your very soul. Every ounce of self-acceptance you've discovered in counselling, your self-help books, support groups, and several enlightened friends is fundamentally challenged right there, right then, with those few words. You might just have to make Mum recognise all the hard-won truths you've learned about loving yourself as you are, the intrinsic value and beauty of your body. Maybe you'll want to argue, to explain, to force your mother to approve of your appearance and how you'll see yourself, and just get off your back. But remember this: any attempt to control other people actually puts you under their control. I'm going to repeat that because it is so important. And once we get this, it can free us up to do all kinds of things. It gives us so much more space psychologically and emotionally. Any attempt to control other people actually puts you under their control. If you think that you can't be happy until your mother finally understands you, her dysfunction will rule your life. You could spend decades trying to please your parents, doing so much in the false belief that if you could just do enough, if you had the right words to convince them, if your success, argument, achievements would only be recognized, then they will have to accept you. But a lot of the time, they just won't. Alternatively, you could hold your parents at gunpoint and threaten them into saying something you want to hear, but you will never control their real thoughts. You'll never control their real feelings. Never. So why keep trying? The same applies to the argument you've all been having as a family and repeating over and over and over again for the last 5 years. This year, don't fool yourself into thinking that you've finally come up with an irrefutable, rock-solid point of view, that your reasoning and logic has become so good that everyone will be dumbstruck, in awe of your debating prowess, and finally agree with you, and that'll be the end of the argument. They won't, and that argument is not going to die. You see, it's rarely about cleverness, or facts, or indeed truth. Let that sink in for a minute. It's usually about how they feel and what insecurities get triggered by any challenge to what they believe. So what can you do to lose control? Well, here you go. Here's the first thing you can do. You can diffuse difficult conversations. Everyone has their hot topics, and you know that if yours is brought up, yet again, you're going to lose it. So what can you do? Be prepared with what you're going to say, a little script for yourself ahead of time. That's what you can do. You want to acknowledge that someone brought it up. Politics, child rearing, parenting, religion, spirituality, whatever it is. But you don't want to add fuel to the fire. Here's something you can practice saying that can acknowledge and change the topic. Here you get ready? Well, that's one way of looking at it. Now, can you pass me the dressing? Get it? Just try that. Figure out your own little safe phrase to acknowledge somebody say something and then, boom, go off somewhere else. That's the disruption you need to stop that cycle going through again and again and again. What you don't want to do is retort with the witty put down. I know you want to. I know it's tempting. You want to say, that's a dumb way of looking at it. Well, if you were reasonable, you might see my point of view. You use words like that, it's just going to escalate, and you're going to go through you're going to go around the same mountain again and again. Don't do that if you want to diffuse the situation. You simply don't need to join the conversation. The only way you can avoid getting stuck in other people's craziness is to decouple yourself from trying to control them. If you know that your mother's opinions are wrong for you, as are your grandfather's bigotry, your sister's view on managing finances, or your cousin's alcohol consumption, hold that truth in your heart. Find ways to remember it and to remind yourself of it. But you don't need others to validate it for it to be true for you. Do you get what I'm saying here? I'm saying feel what you feel, know what you know, but also allow your family to do the same. Okay, but what if it's more than just an inconsiderate word or a spiteful comment in an argument? What if you've been deeply wounded by your family? And the dread of going to this family occasion is going to bring it all up, and you know those wounds are raw. Well, you can stop trying to control them by forgiving them. And no, they don't have to apologize or deserve it for you to forgive them. And then you accept responsibility for your own healing. I'm not saying you carry all the blame, but rather that you simply acknowledge that you and only you have the power to respond to that wound by seeking to heal instead of furthering the pain by revisiting it or waiting for someone else to reduce it for you. Whatever the situation, accepting that you can only control your own thoughts and actions will help you heal more deeply and more quickly. Phew, that was some heavy stuff right there. But I know it's very real for many families, and we can't get away from that when we're talking about how do we survive these family festive seasonal holiday gatherings. So I hope you found that little section helpful. Okay, so let's lighten the mood a bit here and change gear a little bit. Here's something a little more lighthearted that might help you implement this second strategy of losing control. So here you go. If you need a tool to help you step back from the behaviors that wind you up, here's a really good one. It's called Family Behavior Bingo. And you can play this. We've played it. I know a number of people have played it, and I get some incredible confidential testimonials from people who've done it. So this is called Family Behavior Bingo. There's a technique that's used by social scientists called participant observation. And it's a way of joining groups to observe and report on whatever those people do. People, you see, their attitudes and behaviors are fascinating when you're able to decouple yourself and not engage with them, but be able to observe them. And this is heightened when you're planning to report back to someone else about what you experienced. And family behavior bingo helps you do just that. Now, again, this takes a little preparation ahead of time. I mean, what have I recommended in this podcast so far for you that doesn't require preparation ahead of time? Because that's really the secret to all of this. But here you go. First, agree 2 or 3 friends with whom you're going to play this, okay? Second, prepare your personal family behavior bingo cards. Now, you can do this by each filling your bingo squares with the dysfunctional phrases or actions that you are expecting at your particular family gathering. I mean, for example, if you dread the inevitable, so, when are you going to have kids? Another child. Get married. Get a different job. Then that question goes in one square of your bingo card. And maybe create a little matrix which has 9 squares in it. That's probably about right, 3 across the top, 3 down. You know what that looks like. And you can begin to fill this in. So if your dad typically starts talking about how much he hates the most recent election result, celebrity, reality TV show, songs, neighbours, you name it, then put dad raised his pet peeve in another square. And so on, till you fill up that whole card. And it might actually be quite fun while you're putting this card together, I promise you. And then actually playing the game is even more fun. Doing this as a couple can be kind of fun too, but kind of be warned. This podcast isn't about marital harmony, just about surviving family in the holidays. So you have to tread very carefully and be sensitive to how deeply to criticize your in-laws. But Abby and I played this, and it is kind of fun. And I have to say, the comments I get from my family these days when they go, oh, so you and Abby are showing up. Have you got your bingo cards with you? They know we kind of play this now that I've written articles about this and podcasted about it. So beware, be careful. This is fun, but don't be too critical. So, right, you've done step 1, you've done step 2. I've given you the health warning, which is fine. Now, step 3, third thing you need to do is take your cards to your respective family gatherings. You need to be a bit covert here, but whenever you observe something that appears on your bingo card, mark off that square. And the first person, remember you picked 2 or 3 other people who you're going to play this with over the holiday period, the first person to get bingo must text, don't Instagram, please, no, for the reasons I said earlier. So text the other players and announce his or her victory. And if no one has full bingo, the person who has the largest number of completed squares wins the game when you all get back together after your events. Now, this is a fun way to distance yourself from the behaviors and attitudes that may have previously wound you up. And it also distracts you from their potential stress-inducing consequences that you find in you. You become the participant observer, and you are getting ready to report it to someone outside of the environment you're in. So this gives you a bit of space. And you can have a lot of fun with it while you do. So try it and see how it goes for you. You might even get a free lunch from your friends if that was the stake you decided to play the game for. So that's the second strategy to surviving your family this seasonal, festive holiday time. That is lose control. And now I just want to move on to strategy number 3. And this is called adopt bad habits. Yeah, strategy number 3, adopt bad. That's B, A, D, habits. Let me just get a bit of water here. Thanks for staying with me. So, I just went and mentioned stress, okay? It is kind of stressful. I said stress-induced consequences in the previous section. And I deliberately waited until this part of the article to do so. Because these family gatherings, getting together at these highly charged times of year where we have so many expectations normally, is stressful. Now, let me give you a bit of science behind this. Our body's sympathetic nervous system has a mechanism that launches in an emergency to get us out of trouble. I reckon you've heard of it. What's it called? The fight or flight reflex. Now, this is a carefully orchestrated, yet near instantaneous sequence of hormonal changes and physiological responses to get us out of harm's way fast. To release energy, to boost our heart rate, to increase oxygen intake, to shut down parts of the brain that might overanalyze and get in the way, and to shut down other functions of the body that are not essential. The problem is that your and my fight or flight reflex does not know the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and my mother-in-law. Sorry, mother-in-law. I have a great mother-in-law, by the way, but comedy value. But just to be fair, nor for that matter does my fight or flight reflex know the difference between a stampeding herd of buffalo and my Instagram account showing my friends going to that brand new restaurant that they forgot to tell me about. Nor does it know the difference from my boss's last minute deadline texted to me saying, "Can you just stay in the office a little longer?" It is triggered. And unfortunately, many people's body overreacts to stresses that are not life-threatening, such as fear of missing out, traffic jams, work pressure, and most importantly for our purposes, family gatherings. You see, perception drives this kind of negative stress. When we feel threatened, at risk, left out, unsafe, comparing ourselves to the perfect lives of our friends, celebrities, family members on Instaface, Twitgram, many of us unwittingly respond with tension and rising levels of anxiety. This is when the stress hormones, the ones that were supposed to help us get out of trouble quickly, outstay their welcome in our bodies, staying longer than is healthy. And this kind of negative stress that is overstaying its welcome really begins to hurt us when the burden it places on us exceeds our capacity to bear it. And that's when stress begins to harm us. And you know what it does? It reduces our ability to be objective, to manage our emotions, to exercise our willpower, to digest our food properly and sleep effectively. So this kind of negative stress is not a good party companion, and it certainly doesn't leave us in an optimal state for surviving our family this holiday. So, what can we do about it? I said strategy 3 was adopt bad habits, BAD. There are a few things that you already do that you can harness to help you here, so I'm not telling you something new. BAD is an acronym for breathing and drinking. And no, I'm not recommending you overindulge your tequila, wine, beer habit here. Do you remember when you were a kid and your mum, dad, teacher was trying to help you manage your temper when someone had done something and you just want to retaliate and it's like, "Rrr." What did they say? Just count to 10 and breathe slowly. Yeah, well, that's not really going to cut it here, but it is along the right lines. You see, deep breathing tells our body that we are safe. It helps us tap into our body's natural relaxation response, the exact opposite of the fight or flight reflex, often nicknamed, guess what? The rest and digest reflex. So, under this third strategy, here's something you can do. It's called 4-7-8 breathing. And the clue is in the name. You guessed it. It's a deep breathing exercise in a sequence that's designed to trigger the body's natural relaxation response. Here's what you do. You start by finding a quiet place. Remember, I recommended that you give yourself space earlier in the podcast? Well, here's one way that you can actually use the space. So, sit up straight in a comfortable position. You don't need some kind of meditation, cross-leg, lotus pose thing. You can just sit up, feet flat on the floor, and get comfortable. Next, place the tip of your tongue on the ridge of your gums, like this. It sounds a bit like this, just behind your upper front teeth. And slowly inhale through your nose for a count of 4. That's 4. Then hold your breath for a count of 7. You'll begin to notice things going on in your body, like your heartbeat. And when the count is up, open your mouth slightly and exhale for a count of 8. And repeat this cycle 4 times. It takes a little practice, but it is so worth it. Just try it out and find out what it does for you. It's called 4-7-8 breathing. Okay, so let me give you another thing you can do just as we begin to wind down the podcast a little. So here's another tool you can use to help you adopt bad, B-A-D, habits. Try gargling. Yeah, you heard me right. I just told you to gargle. And this isn't competitive doing the national anthem with gargling. This is just for yourself. So go get a glass of water. I wished it could be whiskey, but I'm sorry, it doesn't work as well. And I'm serious here. Gargling contracts the muscles at the back of the throat that stimulates the vagus nerve. In turn, the vagus nerve activates the gastrointestinal tract. Now, remember what I said the opposite of the fight or flight reflex was called? Yeah, you do? Good. The rest and digest reflex. It makes your body begin to believe it's safe. No saber-toothed tigers around here. The vagus nerve is also largely responsible for the kind of mind-body connection because it connects to all the major organs except the adrenal and thyroid glands. It's the longest nerve in the body. It's massively important to how we connect to one another as well. It links directly to the nerves that tune our ears to human speech, coordinate eye contact, and regulate emotional expressions. The vagus nerve influences the release of oxytocin. You might have heard of that before, referred to as the love hormone. It's the one that is important in social bonding and feeling close to others. And when you get stressed and the fight or flight reflex activates, it ain't there. So it's no wonder you don't feel close to your family until you get into this rest and digest. And it's not about having too much Christmas dinner and drinking so much alcohol you fall asleep. It's activating that vagus nerve. You see where I'm going with this now? Studies have found that vagus nerve stimulation is associated with greater closeness to others and more altruistic behavior. Now that's not a bad party companion. And it's certainly a secret superpower you're going to want to have up your sleeve for surviving a family gathering. So, gargling. Who knew? All you can do is give it a try and see what it does for you. You might be surprised at how much it helps you relax and even enjoy what you might have been stressing out about when it gets to your family gathering. So just to wrap up here, I said I was going to give you 3 practical, fun, and powerful strategies for surviving your family this holiday, and that's exactly what I've done. All 3 of these strategies, abandoning hope that this year will somehow magically be different from the last year, losing control of your temptation to control your relatives, their behaviors and their views, and 3, adopting bad habits that'll keep you calm and maybe even allow you to connect more deeply. All 3 of these strategies are designed to help you accept your family and love them unconditionally in a way that works best for you. And that just might be the best holiday gift you'll ever give to the people you cherish most, your family. So happy holidays, folks. Hey, Hey, if you're ready to take your productivity to a whole new level, make sure you grab a copy of my Amazon #1 best-selling book, Unlocking a More Productive You. If you want to learn the secrets of getting more of what matters most done, then this book is for you. And right now, when you visit my website, charliehugh-jones.com, I'll give you instant access to the first 3 chapters of this book, absolutely free. All you have to do is enter your name and email, and you can immediately start to discover the 3 keys to making space, increasing focus, and getting more of what matters most done. So go ahead and visit Charlie Hugh Jones now to get your copy of the first 3 chapters. My goal in each episode of this podcast is to inspire and equip you to unlock the best version of you. If you gained a valuable insight today, then please do me a favor and go out on social media and make sure to share this episode with others. Post your thoughts, post your reactions, share what insight you gained through listening to it. And don't forget to go and encourage someone else today. And make sure you hashtag unlocking you so we can see what kind of things are making an impact and really making a difference. Oh, and don't forget to take a moment to subscribe to the show too on iTunes or on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. Until next time, here's to the best version of you. Bye for now.